Miles Lasser is my best friend. For 87 years. And there's only one person in my life that I had a longer relationship, and that was my older brother, Charles Price, and that was 89 years. But what a great thing for my life to have had Miles as my best friend that long. If today we were going to talk about all his characteristics and accomplishments during his life, we'd be here till midnight, I think, but I'm just going to pick one, and that is as an author and as a poet. And I'm going to, he was a gifted writer, cogent, clear, witty, funny, creative, as you all know. And I'm going to let his voice speak instead of mine. There are two things I'm going to read. One is his discussion of the most important date in his life. And the second thing is, at some point in our relationship, we began to send stuff to each other on our birthdays. His was March 8th, which is burned into my skull. And he would always send me a poem, which he called doggerel, but they were wonderful. And I'm going to read a couple of those. But first, let me read this thing. And interestingly enough, this little tag on this that Miles wrote, he said, "You guys have been a big part of this." He said, when one reaches his 80s, Maxwell Anderson's September song lyric becomes especially meaningful. Oh, the days dwindle down to a precious few. Relatively speaking, one hopes. Past events and experiences, personal and public, start to be filtered through memory and judgment and ranked for their significance in one's life. Looking back takes precedence over looking ahead. Over the past 81 years, there have been public events, some tragic, some inspiring, that have truly given us pause and probably in some way changed the conditions of our lives. Excuse me. The Franklin Roosevelt presidency, Pearl Harbor, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the Cold War, the Kennedy assassination, Elvis and the Beatles, Vietnam, Watergate, and of course 9/11. All of these and others may have affected our outlook and attitudes, but didn't always necessarily cause us to change dramatically the way we carried on our lives from day to day. Rather, it has been our private and personal circumstances, relationships, and experiences that gave individual meaning to the major public events and developments that occurred in our lifetimes. Births and birthdays, marriages, career episodes, family and friends' deaths, all are key dates in our lives. Looking back to the significant dates and events in my own life, I have settled on the one date, aside from the day I was born, that determined and influenced the basic direction of everything that followed for me. What was it? September 7, 1927, my first day of school. What was so significant about that? Millions of American kids started school around that day, but I didn't go to kindergarten. I started in Miss Mansfield's first grade class at the Euclid Avenue Elementary School. I have no idea why I didn't go to kindergarten. To my regret, it is now far too late. My parents must have had what they believed good reason to start me in first grade, perhaps some then current 1920s psychodrama. Whatever the reason, being a year ahead of where I would normally have been at the age of 5, affected everything that followed in my life. It was, I now realize, the basic key to what my life has been. To start with, my best lifelong friends were in my own grade, or even in a grade ahead of me rather than in the grade behind me where I would otherwise have been. This circumstance, of course, continued as I progressed to junior high, high school, and college. Because I was a year ahead of my grade normality, I graduated from high school in 1939 and not 1940. This put me in the college class of 43 rather than 44. The significance of that was not only a different set of best friends, but a different military status after December 7th. The Navy permitted reserve officers, enlistees in my class, to attend a summer semester and graduate in December 1942. Had I been in my normal class of 44, I would probably not have been allowed to graduate and would probably have been drafted into the Army with a completely different and uncertain fate. If I had survived the war, who knows what course my life would have taken. As a naval officer on leave in New York City in early 1944, I met Gloria Kay, who was to become the most important and cherished person in my life. This would probably not have happened if I had had a different World War II experience. We married in 1944. The war ended. I came home, attended law school, came back to Jamestown, children and career followed, etc., etc. Conclusion, the entire course of my life stems from that key date, September 7, 1927, when I skipped kindergarten and began school in the first grade. Well, that's a Miles analysis for you. Anyone can believe that. That's marvelous. All right, now I got 3 little poems that he sent me on my birthday, and I'll read them. This was on our 74th, because he was just about 3 months younger than I. From 21 to 95, a blink of nature's eye. For us of senior years on earth, they too more quickly fly. We inch up to the infinite, our loves grow more platonic. We ease off on the strenuous and grasp for the mnemonic. But you, mon vieux, defy the gods. From combat you're not o'er, with senses fit and active wit at 80 plus 14. And then this is 78 birthday, a December 18th soliloquy. Jesus Christ, I'm 78. Have I done too little? Is it now too late? Is a rocking chair to be my fate? Looking back, there's been some fun. Some things completed, some things undone, some battles lost, some victories won. So, what's the net? The morning line? Have I screwed it up or did I shine? Oh hell, let it wait until 79. Now we got 79, which is the last, not the last one I got, but this is the last one. At 79, no concubine, no shushing down an Apennine, no workouts at the Turbine, no trekking throughout Liechtenstein. There's much more time to introspect, to mull the past, to recollect, to glide through waters that reflect a life of class and intellect. Now onward to the 9th decade, when codgers chased the chambermaid, with little chance to make the grade, but rather for the gasconade. That's how I